Hey people. So, there's something that was posted on FET that she's gonna read, and then we're gonna discuss it. By then, hopefully, a few people will have joined us and be confused at what we're doing. So,
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. And, all right. So, there's an article. I'm not going to name names. I can put a link to this below, though. Somebody in my local community did a video. I can't talk. They did a FetLife post about stereotypes of submissives. What they are.
well, also she added in stereotypes of doms as well.
Yeah. She's not specifically talking about MS here, but just people who submit and dominate. So, more general. But I'm going to go ahead and read you this. But you don't act like a real sub, okay?
Which is, by the way, one of my favorite things that people say, because it's always leading to something being bullshit. So, because anybody says, oh, you're not a real X, immediately goes into...
Number one, are you in a relationship with the person? Because if you're in a dynamic with somebody and you feel that way, it's probably just you're not compatible.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not a real blah, blah, blah.
Right,
okay.
Just because you don't like how somebody's doing something doesn't mean they're not wrong. So, but go ahead.
Okay, so time for some real talk, y'all. I know some of you most recently read some BDSM fiction or some bad fan fiction, romancing abuse, 50 Shades of Grey. But I'm gonna tell you about real subs now. Real subs are people who, in some aspect of their life, in a kinky context, are submissive. That's it. That's what makes a real sub. They're submissive. Anybody who is going to tell you what a twoo sub is, looks like, acts like, speaks like, etc., is way full of it. They're living in an eco-driven fantasy land, and other people aren't real to them, not really. They want projections of their desires, and they want to shame and punish anyone who doesn't please them personally in that way. And we're talking about not even in a relationship. I'm just adding that piece. Because they're saying in general, people that just sit and judge other people.
Right.
Same goes for the discussion of twoo doms. And we should probably do a video about twoo at some point. But maybe you guys have heard this concept.
The thing is, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know my opinion about the term true or real. The terms true and real in the community are BS. Because what's right for me and the way I'm doing something, let's say with her or with somebody else, may not be right for you and what you're doing with someone else. That doesn't mean that what I'm doing is wrong or what you're doing is wrong.
Unless it's unconsensual or abusive. And there's also another idea for a video that I want to do about, what is it? I can't think of what it's called right now. When people are codependency. There is a very big difference between being codependent and being a slave or in a power exchange relationship. Codependency is unhealthy. Ooh, look, I got a new bow. Sorry, I got really distracted.
Yeah, you got a unicorn bow.
Unicorn bow! Sorry, I got really excited. But there's a big difference between codependency and power exchange. And I do want to expand on that at some point, Master. But do you want me to continue reading?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, there are scammers and people who pretend to be in the lifestyle because they think they'll get money or an easy lay. But that's not really what we're discussing here. What we're discussing is people who claim that everyone around them is fake and doesn't know what they're doing and isn't doing it right, etc. These people are insecure or have the lack of self-awareness to realize that these people are just as real as they are. They feel as much and their desires are valid. Their personalities are valid. What they want and how they are oriented, while different from what these people want, is just as valid. That's fucking huge.
Well, I think that's one of the major things is that regardless of, it's like she gets into it a little later in the article, but there is no one right way of doing this. There's a lot of wrong ways of doing this, but there's no one right way of doing this. So I think that's something that was very, I think is important right there.
And it looks like we have 2 viewers, but I haven't seen anything pop up.
Yeah, whatever.
No, I just would love people's opinion on this. Continue?
Yeah.
These people might try to sell you on the whole idea that it and kind of mean of isolating you. Like, don't trust those other people. Don't play with them. Don't communicate with them. Only me. that's a fucking red flag.
Well, that's something I've been talking about for a long time. Is when you isolate your submissive, you're immediately, red flagging for abuse. You never, it's like, yeah, you have the ability to say, no, I don't want you to talk to that individual because I believe they are harmful to you. That is totally valid.
But that's usually with, like, empirical evidence or, like, something has
Right.
happened.
But not just, because they disagree with how I'm doing things, therefore you're not allowed to talk to them. I want her to talk to others, to have those conversations about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it.
And we have, like, he's allowed me to, and I'm not going to go super into it, but allowed me a support group of other people who are into the same thing I am to talk about that and to have connection on that and, like, share stories and be able to touch base as heart to heart with those people.
You also have a slave sister that you're able to communicate and bring up the feelings and emotions about what's happening in our relationship to her, and be able to lay out what is going on and get other opinions about what I'm doing or what she's doing for me, and that's completely valid.
Everybody should have a support person.
Yeah,
and that's like the thing is that we're hopefully going to get master a little bit more connection out here of people to relate with. It's hard when you move to a new place and you're in an MS, everyone's like, oh, you're in an MS. It's like, whoa, big scary bad wolf. Like,
yeah, no, it's like when you're on top of the food chain, it gets pretty lonely.
That's a really weird way to put it.
But it's kind of true. I mean, it's like you see, as soon as somebody
you're doing one of the most difficult things.
Right. Well, as soon as somebody says I'm a master in an MS relationship, immediately you're like put here. Okay.
Like if you started acting a fool, people would be like, "What the hell? This person's a master."
Yeah, they're like you're immediately, as soon as you say I am a master or I have a slave, immediately a bunch of ideas.
Sorry, this is my new mug. I'm really excited.
A bunch of ideas of how you should act or how you should be or what you should do. And as soon as you don't follow that, they're like, well, they're not much of a master, are they? Or they're not much of a mistress, are they? Because of the fact that they're not acting a specific way, which that makes total BS.
There are certain things I can see, like, obviously also it's like when they're in the dynamic, because if you're just on the street, like, that's not...
No.
You know what I mean?
I mean, there's certain prerequisites for what makes an MS going to a club, or what makes an MS going to a munch, or what makes an MS going to a leather event, or something like that. I mean, there are certain dynamics that exist regardless, of who you are, what you are, that pretty much you follow into these states. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they are right for you and your dynamic. It's really difficult for people to understand, and I think that's something she gets into later.
Right, but the biggest thing I want to say here is that there is so much pressure on people to fit a mold of what the roles are, which she's talking about, but also of what a relationship looks like what an MS looks like. Like, I've talked about in my videos, my personality, people wouldn't necessarily, like, put me as a slave, but it works for us, it works for him. I have these desires, like, this is who I am, even though I'm not fitting what, mainstream idea of what that is.
Right, no.
It's really about the people in the relationship, and it's an internal journey and also a relationship, an external journey with your relationship. To be you. It's not about what the hell other people think.
But that's all it is. I mean, any relationship is that. It's we just happen to have we've artificially put extra pressure on top of our relationship to get a certain dynamic out of it. And it doesn't mean that all of the other aspects of what a relationship is don't exist. They very much do exist.
It's a real relationship for real fucking people.
Right, the day-to-day paying bills,
we do laundry.
Jobs,
he does dishes sometimes. He cooks sometimes.
Cooking, cleaning, all of those things are all standard aspects of any relationship. We just choose to put some extra pressure on top of that. So, do you want to continue?
Yes, Master. Or if they're scared of competition, maybe, or just feeling fundamentalist that they cannot comprehend spectrums and varieties of the lifestyle being okay, which we just discussed.
Yeah.
This isn't about predators, whom we should absolutely warn each other about and remove from our communities as well. This is about expecting and demanding subs and doms and switches and kinky folks to exhibit very specific personality traits at all times, and only to behave in certain ways at all times. So that being said, here are a list of stereotypes.
Right, but that's what I was talking about before. Is that we artificially put a bunch of
yeah, in the MS it's a little different than that because there are guidelines about how we act together and how I serve him, but I would still say it's less rigid than people think.
But the thing about it is the guidelines that we have in place
are ours.
Are ours.
They're not societal.
They're what works for me and her, not what would work for me and say somebody else. And it's like that's something I've made very clear. Is like if I get somebody else in my life, if I do get a third in my life at this point, because right now I only have her in my life, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't potentially have others in the future. And she knows this, so it's not like it's a big secret of me saying, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to go out and find some other else to play with." It's like no, she knows that. I
have other people in my life.
Right? Yeah. She knows that she has other people in her life, and eventually I'll have other people in mine. And the thing is, the way that I'm doing DS, doing DS or MS with them is going to be different than the way I'm doing it with her, because you can't say here, there is no book calling the rules to being a master and a slave.
There are that, like Slavecraft does give some guidelines of things that are it's kind of take what is good for you as far as the tools that helped the author, right, with his slavery, but there is no like this is how you do it.
No,
I like that song. This is how you do it.
Yeah, there is no follow the 100 steps to a master slave relationship.
Step 1, you're a badass, therefore you're a master.
Yeah,
no, there's no
there is no guidelines. There's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of books. But the reality is that when it comes down to the minutia of your relationship, that has nothing to do with anything any of us are talking about. You can take it as knowledge and basics of what's going on in your head as you're going into it, but
right, like there's safe ways to flog and not to flog.
Right.
There is not a set guideline about how to do an MS.
As I've stated multiple times before, there's no one right way of doing this, but there's a lot of wrong ways of doing this.
Right, being codependency to the point of like not being healthy.
When it comes to certain types of play types, yes, there is specifics on how to do it. Okay, now you can add your own flair to it, but like with fire, there's certain things you do not do. There are certain things that you do, and how you then create your own style and flair within that is great. But the reality is, if you do this, you're going to hurt somebody. If you do this, you're going to hurt somebody. And it's like that those are more rigid, where a DS and an MS relationship is not so rigid. It's like rigid.
Choose your own adventure. You know what I mean? Because it's like, obviously there's power exchange, and we could do a whole video on what exactly is power exchange. I know you've done other videos in the past, but like a broad definition of that. But it's really what works for the people.
Right, because the thing is like I can sit here and say, this is what DS is, and this is what MS is. But the thing about it is that really doesn't apply to everybody. It doesn't apply to, it's like if I put a definition of this is what I've tried doing these things in the past, and they've always come out and failed because that's just not the way it works. There's no, here's what, here are the rules for every slave that I'm ever going to own. Because the thing about it is that it's like for every person I'm with, except for my core rules are my only things that have stuck this entire time. Because my core rules are solid, and they can then use them as a way to springboard out beyond what's going on with that particular scenario. But you can't sit here and write down, here are the ways I do things. It becomes too rigid, too much. You get into an R. Kelly situation where everybody's living the exact same way, doing everything the exact same way, and it just becomes a scenario where it feels cultish. And it feels, we've seen this. We've seen this happen in real life, where
there's a lot of situations and people that are mentioned on Fat Life about. There's a specific family that I'm not going to name names, but this guy's been called out
for being cultish, and it's not. And I sit here and I look at what he's doing, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but I also don't think that he's going too far. I think that's the way he's choosing to live this lifestyle, and if other people choose to live it with him, then great.
Again, choose your own adventure.
Right.
Is anybody there? We have literally...
No, I know. I probably didn't set the chat up, so...
Oh, well, I was like, I can't be... Oh, I wanted the chat. Is there any way to change it?
No.
Okay, well, I guess I can't get your comment. So if you're trying to comment, I apologize about that. Now can I read the list?
Yeah.
So please understand... Oh, wait, hold on. No, I'm not there, am I? Oh, so examples of these things. A low self-esteem, mousy, poser child for abuse with personality like wet, congratulated cardboard, submissive stereotypes. See 50 Shades of Grey. Let me clue you in on something. A hell of a lot of subs are high power, in-control people and other aspects of their lives. Certainly not all, but I'd easily say more than half of the people who are submissives in their... wait, hold on. More than half of the people who are often in control and who have a lot of responsibility. For many submissives, their time in DS land can help them rest, let go, drop their walls, and let somebody else in for a while, to be in charge for a while. And that's, like, really true. But with an MS, it's a little different because there's the element of somebody else being in charge a majority of the time in your interaction. So I would say this is, like, a little different when it comes to MS versus DS, but that's a very valid point. So please understand, a submissive can be confident. A submissive can be assertive. A submissive can be an aggressive person. A submissive can be intelligent. A submissive can be brave. A submissive can be strong. A submissive can be tall, athletic, slender, curvy, short, and all of those things. A submissive can be a law enforcement officer, a district attorney, a politician, a CEO, a lawyer, a surgeon, a soldier, or any other profession. Goodness knows I've had plenty of those as clients when I was a pro-dom.
So that's... I want to stop it for a second because...
Can I get some more water, Mustard?
Yeah. The thing, especially pro-doms, get to see a very different side of the community. Because they get to see a lot of the people who just simply don't have the time or the ability to put this 100% into their lifestyle. These are people who want to have these experiences and want to be able to do these things, but can't do it on a day-to-day basis.
It's healthy to let go.
It is. And there's a lot of people who I've seen this way too many times in my life where, during the day, this person is a CEO of a high-end, multi-billion-dollar company, is responsible for hundreds of employees and blah, blah, blah. And at night they like to be put into a diaper and called a little baby.
That's their choice.
That's their choice. That's their release.
It makes them feel good.
That's their release.
And it's not hurting anybody,
Right. That's their release. And
also you see the flip with people, like people who would not have a lot of... responsibility or control or authority in their childhood, wanting to then our dominants or our masters. And you see the flip with slaves. Like for me, my childhood, I had to grow up really, really fast and take care of a bunch of shit. And that's why how my desire sprung up for this kind of relationship, to really just let go.
And there's nothing wrong or bad about that. In fact, this can be very helpful in people's dealing with past traumas in their lives. We've talked about, therapeutic kink.
A little bit.
Yeah. And that is something that I think is,
And I'm hoping to move forward with some more of that.
Yeah.
And I will be doing more videos about that. Okay. So, a submissive can be wealthy, poor, or anything in between. A submissive can be able-bodied or disabled. A submissive can be any age, race, religion, etc., etc., So, actually, I'm going to go a bit onto Dom stereotypes, too.
Yeah.
A Dom can be introverted in many aspects of their life. A Dom can be a sensitive person. A Dom can be shy. A Dom can be in a service industry, in a low-powered job, or in a position where they're in charge of no one, or others are in charge of them. That's kind of what we talked about earlier. A Dom can be poor, wealthy, anything in between, able-bodied. All the things that were mentioned before about submissives. They can be soft-spoken, gentle-natured, non-confrontational. They can be in any body type. Basically, we're people. Everybody is people.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about. There's not freaking stereotypes.
No, and this is where one of the things that I constantly will bring up There is no one stereotype for what makes somebody a submissive or a dominant.
There's no true whatever.
Right. The concept.
It's what's true for you.
Right. It's
I
what,
guess that's the best way.
Right. It's what's true for you. It's what's true for your life and your existence. That's all that matters. Because who you are, regardless of what, how you were born or who you grew up to be, you're still you. And if you find being submissive is something that makes your life better, great. If you find out being dominant is something that makes your life better, great.
Whatever works for you.
It's what makes you happy at the end of the day.
And being our authentic self is something I want to say here. And I know that sounds really like woo and kind of cheesy, but I've been focusing a lot on trying to be my authentic self, especially in this dynamic, which is what I wanted for a long time. And like really just spending some time doing some work on who are you? What's your goals? What is what's in your heart?
It's not just that, but it's also, as I stated before, being honest with yourself when it comes to your sexual desires. Because without that, we're spinning our wheels. Most vanilla people are very, you could see this just in, if you look at what porn sites report is the most viewed stuff, it's never just, straight white people having sex. It's always add some kind of, it's lesbians or moms or this or that or whatever. Because the thing about it is that people aren't being truthful and honest about who they are and what they are when it comes to their sexual needs and desires, and it becomes very confusing and cluttering for them to not be able to. And then when they get inside kink, they all of a sudden realize, oh my god, that thing I really wanted to try to do.
Sorry.
That thing I really wanted to try to do, I can do it. That thing that I really wanted to, I wanted to dress up as, I can do it.
Yeah.
Or, hey, this thing I really want to try, there's somebody out there who will do it for me.
And there's power in that, in recognizing who you are and being with yourself. Again, I know I sound all woo. I'm coming from my Tantra background and my background in spirituality, but I have found kink has really allowed me to tap into myself.
Well, kink has this tendency to open up a whole new world for people. It has a tendency to allow people to exist in a way that is hard to explain.
Yeah. Let me finish this one. So when people, this is my favorite part of this, and then we'll also probably put the link down below for the writing from Fat. Again, we don't own any rights to this writing or this person. So when people tell me, "Oh, you can't be a sub. You don't act like one," I can only think, what the fuck are you talking about? The way I submit to those I choose to submit to and the way I interact with them can be completely different from the way I interact with other people. I carry myself like a fighter because that's what I am. I am social. I have strong opinions, which I express. I am very much a protector. I enjoy teaching and mostly teaching other adults. I'm the one who kicks out known predators out of munches. I am not alone either. In my local community, most of the subs are confident, strong-willed people. Whole people. People who know who they are and what they want in their life. People who take great joy in submission and pleasing others, in power exchange, and in willingly give up control to a partner that they have consented to. Well, we tell jokes, we have fun, we laugh, we are capable adults. Fully able to be grown-ups in other aspects of our life, even age players. And those of us who are disabled and need an in-home caregiver, those subs aren't passionless, mindless doormats either. We are people, worthy of consideration and respect. It isn't up to you, random person in the lifestyle that doesn't own us, to dictate to us what we are or how we should behave. Hell yes, is what I have to say to that.
Well, I do have to take one step back, because there are people that like being doormats. There are people that like being used, and
I do in certain ways,
right? But
to somebody that I have consented to that.
Right, but that's the difference between there's certain people that want to be and I'm not a big fan of doormats, but the thing about it is that they do exist.
Clearly, he doesn't like doormats because I'm not a doormat.
No, you're not. But the thing is,
doesn't mean I'm not a slave and that I'm not submissive.
Though. No, but it's difficult, and it's like we could probably go on for the next hour on this.
Yeah, we gotta go soon, but let me finish. Can I finish?
Yeah.
Same goes for doms. These are people who are good at it or not so good at it, but they are people who are more or less compatible with you. That doesn't you don't have to act. Sorry, dyslexia is acting up right now. But it does. But someone doesn't have to act like they are freaking Conan the Barbarian to prove they are dominant. They can be quiet, shy geek. When they are in their scene with their partner and they are in dom space, they may be entirely different.
Yeah, quiet, shy.
Yeah, we're both
shy
dorks.
geek. Yeah,
we're both geeks. If you didn't know, if you really didn't know, that's why it works for us. To prove they're dominant, they can be the shy geek. When they are blah blah blah, they may be entirely different in the scene. The dynamic where the quiet, mostly shy geek works for their sub. So, come off it. Don't assume somebody is or isn't what they say they are just because they don't fit your stereotypes from bad BDSM erotica.
Yeah. I mean, like I said,
seriously,
there is.
Shut the hell up, people.
Right.
Sorry, I'm not talking to you guys. I'm just saying society. But I think we have to go soon because I think we have somebody that needs to come down here.
Yeah. But no, the one thing that's absolutely clear is that there is no one right way of doing this. Yeah, that's really what you kind of have to take out of it. There's no one right way of doing this. There's a lot of wrong ways of doing this. But the main thing is that you do what works for you and the person you're doing it with. If it doesn't work, then you have two options: either stop or change. And that's it. There is no third option of we just deal with it. You either stop or you change. And even within our dynamic, we've had changes as we've gone forward.
That's a part of relationships, though.
Yeah, that's part and parcel of this. You make it work for the person you're dealing with. So
he still gets a lot of what he wants, but he's also the part of the thing about being a master, at least from what I understand your perspective as master, is that you're in charge. You don't want to blow up the ship. You have to consider all of these things when you're running somebody's life.
But that's where what it comes down to is that there are moments where I have to completely put aside what I want towards what you need, because that's the right thing to do, and that's not me not being a master at that moment. That's me saying
that's you being a master actually, because you're mastering our life and trying
that's
to...
me saying it's a better decision at this moment for me to be able to relinquish what I want to what she wants and be able to get what's going to be.
We gotta go soon too.
So, anyways,
we have to go to Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got about 15 minutes before we
gotta go. I'm definitely not wearing this. So I wish.
So
maybe
anyways,
at the Kinky Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Anything? Throw some. If you have any questions, throw them below.
We'll try to link the article. If you want to look it up though on FetLife, it is you don't act like a real sub.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you've liked it on your Fet. Did you like it?
Yes, I have. If you go onto my Dandy Corn, you can see that I've liked it on my feed.
So, that's going to be kind of it for now. Anything else?
I'm thankful for you guys.
All right. So, we're out of here. All right. To see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Be well and safe. All right. Bye-bye.
Click the fish.